Welcome back to another episode of Thrive Mode Radio. Thank you so much for tuning in. It means the world to me, and I hope these episodes are valuable. If they are, the way this show grows, the way we get better is you sharing the love. So if this episode resonates, please share it with two people you care about so that this podcast can grow and that we can help more people. So this episode is all about nutrition. Actually, it's all about you and your relationship with nutrition. You see, so many people come to me and they say, what's the best diet? What should I start eating? All this kind of stuff. But at the root of it, it comes down to your relationship with food. And if we don't attack that, if we don't fix those psychological barriers, then you're just going to be spinning your wheels. You're just going to be yo-yoing. So I'll give you an example. In my early 20s, what I do, it might sound like you, is I'd be clean Monday through Friday, and then I'd go out on Friday, Saturday. I just didn't pay attention to nutrition on the weekend. And I was in pretty good shape, but I couldn't get like diced, or I couldn't get super dialed. And that's because my relationship with food is like, I have to suffer during the week, and then on the weekend I can have fun. That's bad. If your regular day-to-day eating isn't enjoyable, you don't love it, and the only things you love are your cheat meals. By the way, don't use cheat meal because it makes you feel guilty. There's a negative connotation. That's bad. You want to find a way of eating that's flexible, that you love to do, that, yeah, there's treats incorporated. That's cool. We all got to live. We all got to have dessert sometimes. But if it's this, I'm all in or I'm all out type of thing, you're always going to be on this hamster wheel. So the first thing I want to talk about is your relationship with food and your self-image. Okay. And this is the big rock. So how do you fix it? So a lot of people, like I asked my clients recently, or when they come in is to our Perform program, is what is their relationship with food? Is it negative or positive? And so many people say negative. And that's so sad, because food gives us life. Food is the energy that we need to do, or we need to consume to thrive. And so if something that is so good for us, or can be so good for us, we have a negative relationship, that's the first thing we need to fix. So how do we fix that? Well, when I was in Costa Rica with my mother this past winter, every time we would go eat or out to eat, we would just notice everybody saying thanks. They were saying grace. I'm not a man of faith, but I don't think we realize the effort that's required to get the food onto our plates. Like the people, maybe it's the fishermen who helped. Maybe it's the people who prepared the vegetables, who came to the market. Think about all the people, and then people who prepared the food, who cooked it. Maybe it's your spouse, or maybe it was you. Think about all the people that were required in order to get you this food, this lovely dish. And so now we can come to realize that, hey, we can't just take this food for granted, yet so accessible these days. We have to work literally 0% of what our ancestors had to work to get food. Remember that. So if you can just start this practice of, when you sit down to eat and you see the food, is just taking a deep breath in and just be like, man, so much respect for the people. Thank you for helping me, the grocers, whatever it is, to get this food in front of me. Then all of a sudden, this food becomes something that actually nourishes your spirit as well as your body. And then the next step is, okay, food, what does it do? It literally becomes my tissues, the way my body works, my digestion, my brain, everything that I put past my lips helps me either thrive or diminishes my performance. So food is the fuel for life, and we should love it. Part B to this is your self-image. I think a lot of us really struggle with self-love. We look at ourselves in the mirror. Maybe we're overweight. Maybe we're tired. We're not happy with the reflection. Unfortunately, happiness is earned. That's just the reality. We're predisposed to negative thinking. We're just meant to survive. So along with this relationship with food, we got to fix your relationship with yourself. And how do you do that? Well, you do stuff that's uncomfortable, that makes you better, that you prove to yourself that you are capable, that you are competent. And that's where the growth is. That's where the happiness lies. People think that the life of leisure, putting your feet up and not doing anything, nah, the labor, doing stuff, exercising, doing those long days, and looking at yourself in the mirror and be like, man, you got this. Mel Robbins says something, it's called the virtual high five. Might work for you. But what I know what works is doing the things that make you a little bit uncomfortable, proving to yourself that you're strong, capable, and that you are capable of so much more that you actually think you are, right? That's where the self-love is. And if you practice that, give yourself respect. We respect others. You got to respect yourself, because we spend an awful lot of time in our brain. It might as well be a nice place to be. Okay, so the first thing, relationship with food, relationship with yourself. The second thing is cravings and triggers. Cravings and triggers. So you want to think about this as cravings, cravings and triggers, we must make them invisible. We must. If an alcoholic is trying to recover, they do not have booze in the house. If you struggle with sugar, I don't know what else, high carbohydrates, chips, snacks, these super salty, whatever, the foods that are going to light your brain up and that you can't stop eating, they have to be invisible. If you come home from a long day of work and you haven't eaten anything since breakfast and your cupboards are just full of foods that you really crave and are triggers that you just can't stop eating, they have to be out of the environment. You have to do a kitchen audit, because you'll always spin your wheels. So figure out what foods you really crave all the time. One of the things we do at Perform is we actually do what we call palate reset. So if for the last 10, 15 years, if you've been eating super high foods that are really high in flavor and they just burst your brain with sugar and all that kind of stuff, we just got to reset that, because now all you're used to are these insane flavor explosions. And so if you're able to reset that, let's say for 14 days, all you do is just eat locally as much as possible, lots of fruits, lots of vegetables, and lots of lean meats. After the 14 days, you go back to eating something that's like, conventionally made, it's made in the factory, it's bullshit process. You're gonna be like, holy shit, that's so sweet. And it changes your brain. So cravings need to come out. They need to come out of the kitchen. They just can't live at home. If you really want them, you have to walk 15 minutes to go get them. Triggers. Now, some people are triggered by food, and it's a real emotional sensation. So if you have triggers, I think if we look at triggers in two ways, triggers can either be negative. Oh, that triggers me. Like someone walks into a room that I might have a bad relationship. That's a trigger. Or it can be a positive thing. A person I really love walks into a room. Oh, that's a positive trigger. So if we can just manage it so that when you see good food, you start to get triggered into action of who you want to become. I know I didn't mention this in the beginning, but I feel like every episode I slam this down is we want to eat for the person we want to become. The person you're inspired by, the person that has this self-love, that's compassionate, that's pushing themselves in all assets, that person is who you want to eat for. Anyways, I digress. So when it comes to triggers, just make them invisible. Cravings and triggers, make them invisible. Okay. The next thing is what not to eat. And this kind of relates to bio individuality. Okay. I know that's a tough word, but I'll go through it. So what not to eat. These are foods that give you brain fog, that give you gas, that give you digestion problems, you bloat, all this kind of stuff. These things need to go. If you don't feel great after you eat, you're eating the wrong shit. Okay. And some of these, I don't want to get too complicated, but you know what's bad for you. You know, when you eat something, you're like, oh, I can't move. I just need to go on the couch. I feel like a nap. That's bullshit. Food's supposed to give you energy. Okay. So let's look at it this way. If you can be more sensible and just take note and experiment about foods that feel good and don't feel good, that's going to help you dramatically with your progress. So I'll give you an example. So if you don't have the means to do a food intolerance panel, I completely understand. Just use elimination. But if you do have the resources to do a food intolerance panel, I highly recommend it. Because if you're eating foods that actually are healthy, but your body's signal to that food is detrimental, is negative, we still want to take those healthy foods out of your diet. You with me? So I'll give you an example. So let's say, salmon is a superfood, but maybe for some, your body's signal to it is negative. So it's detrimental to your health, in essence. Even though it's a superfood, to someone else, it might be the best food in the world. So you won't know that until you experiment, feel how you feel after you eat it, but also get lab work so that you have data. So many people, eggs, for example, are such a superfood, but quite a few people have intolerances to them. So although they're rich in omega-3s and high quality proteins and the amino acid profile is really high, those people who are eating eggs, it's draining their energy. It's draining their life. So be on top of how food makes you feel. Because guess what? If you're eating foods that don't respond well to you, you're probably going to be hungrier. If you eat foods that don't work well with your microbiome and stuff like that, like you're probably going to run out of energy in the afternoon, those types of things. So be mindful. And if you can, do a food intolerance panel. The next thing is primary and secondary foods. So primary foods, I'll put it to you simply. These might be the top 15 to 20 foods that you eat a lot of the time. So if you have 5 high quality proteins, 5 high quality fats, 5 high quality carbohydrates that you just rotate, that makes nutrition super simple. These are my 15 to 20 foods. And sorry, the next 5 foods could just be your fruits and vegetables that come seasonally. That could be super simple for you. These are your top foods. And if you want to have fun, you want to go have pizza once or twice a week, perfect, or whatever it is. But if you can just nourish your body with these top foods that work with your own individual biology that you love and that get an amazing result and make you feel great, why wouldn't you just do that? And then sneak the little stuff in, the little treats. Cool. You want to smash some dark chocolate from time to time? Great. But that makes that super clear. And then your secondary food is food that you don't actually eat. Is the food throughout the week, whether it's relationship filling, okay, filling the cup with people you love, activities you love. For me, secondary foods are riding my bike, are getting up in the mountains and doing some trail riding, spending time with Oso in the mountains, doing things that are fun, man. That fills your cup of life. Those are your secondary foods. You need those. So primary foods, let's make a list of all the foods that serve you, that you love, that get the results you're desiring for, whether it's fat loss, muscle gain, whether it's athletic performance, or you just want to live a long time and be vital. There are certain foods that will help you get there really fast and sustain it. And then secondary foods. What are the daily, weekly activities you're doing that you absolutely love? The fifth piece to this equation is food tracking and preparation. What gets measured gets managed. The average North American overestimates how much they eat by 50%. By 50%. So people think they're in a caloric deficit, they're eating less than they need to lose the weight they want or achieve whatever. They're not even close. And that's why they look at the scale and they're not losing weight. It's because if they don't track it, they're predisposed to overeat. Remember, we're humans. We're designed to just survive. So any chance we have to eat, we're going to, because food might not be available. That's in our nature. That's in our DNA. So we need to create habits and identity around tracking. And there's two avenues we can look at. There's one avenue that says, oh, tracking is restrictive. It's hard. I have to use my thumbs to track my food for 2 minutes a day. Sorry, that was mean. But there's that avenue. And then there's the second avenue. Hey, when I track my food, I hit my goals. When I track my food, I have energy because I know I'm getting sufficient nutrients into my body so that I can kick ass each day. Okay. So tracking your food is a superpower. And there's so much education because with these apps, with everything, you find out, the nutrient profile of all these foods, how many calories. Oh, I didn't know that had that many calories. Yeah. Hey, when you have a spoon of peanut butter, that's 300 calories. Oh, a piece of salmon is actually only 250 calories. Oh, shit. That's why I'm not losing weight. Anyways, I digress. So the next piece of this is preparation. So you'll notice that fats and carbohydrates are super easy to access. So carbs, you have your crackers, all the bullshit in your cupboards. Actually, we're getting rid of that right after this podcast. Super easy to access. And so are fats. Okay, you have all your oils, you have your nut butters, all that kind of stuff. Super easy to access. You overconsume it. But the proteins are the things that you need to prepare. The protein and the fiber and the vegetables. So if you're not willing to prepare, you're preparing to fail. That's just a fact. If you love cooking, awesome. You're going to kill it because you can cook daily and you can make sure you have fresh ingredients, and then you can feed your soul and you can feed your body, the body of your dreams. But if you're not willing to learn to cook, or that's something out of your capacity, you likely need to outsource. Or make sure that you have quick proteins around and quick vegetables around. Like, oh, I can't prep my vegetables. Yeah, you can. You take a cucumber, you chop it in 3 seconds. It's prepared. You get chopped carrots. Like, there's so many ways to find simple ways. If you're struggling with protein, yeah, you can get some high quality cans of salmon or tuna or pre-cooked chicken and poultry and stuff like that to make your life easier if you don't want to cook. But the truth is if your fridge is empty and unprepared, you will go to Uber Eats. You will get takeout. You will digress from your goals. So I hope this was helpful. Remember, there's 5 things that we really want to be on top of when it comes to our nutrition. We really want to anchor ourselves and have a good relationship with the food we eat and ourselves. Love for the food, love for yourself. The second thing is we need to overcome cravings and triggers. And the best way to do that is just to make them invisible. Out of sight, out of mind. The third thing is make sure you know what not to eat. What are the foods that are draining your superpowers, that are making you bloated, gassy, all this bullshit? Get them out. The fourth thing is, what are your primary foods? What are the foods that you love, that actually get the result, that respond well to your biology? Eat those and sneak in the small stuff. And then what are your secondary foods? What are the things that, like the day-to-day activities, the weekly activities, the time with friends, what are the things that actually fill your cup of life? That's important food too. And the fifth thing is food journaling, tracking your food, getting aware, bringing attention, and preparing. Because if you're not preparing, you're preparing to fail. I really hope this podcast was helpful and that you're taking these practices and you're implementing them to make sure that you love the body you're in and that you love yourself and the food you eat. Coach M. Talk soon.